Hi, I'm Cheryl Monique, and I would love to welcome everyone to the Nappy Frappe. I'm super excited. I've been wanting to do a show to connect to people for a very, very long time. And I've had people encourage me to do it, but I wanted everything to be perfect. But, nothing's perfect. So I invite you to start this journey with me and see where the show goes. Hopefully, one day it's televised somewhere and you guys can come to our audience. And I can give things away like Oprah. You know, who knows? I would love that. But thank you for joining me. Today is not only a special occasion because it's my first relaunch episode, it's also a special occasion because it's my birthday. I am, guess, no, no. No, I'm 40. I am 40 years old and oh my God, I'm feeling different and grown. And I'm excited to have you all here with me. So today I'm going to talk about what it means to be 40 for me personally today. So, it's turning 40 during a quarantine and the world pandemic is a bit different. So I'm not able to do the girls' trip that I was planning to take in New Orleans and get back to my fraternal roots. My family's from Baton Rouge, and I lived there for a short time before Katrina, but I haven't been there since I moved back. And I was dying to get back. I wanted to, first of all, love the Southern food, Cajun food, Creole. And so I wanted beignets and etouffee. Nobody's gumbo is better than my gumbo because I cook just like my grandmother. So even in Louisiana, I prefer my own personal gumbo. Just saying. One day maybe you might eat some of my gumbo. My gumbo's the business. But I was supposed to go to New Orleans I wanted to visit the slavery plantations, not the ones for weddings and tea parties. I'm not here for it. I wanted to expand my spiritual journey. One day I'll totally get into that, but I've been everything from an atheist to a theology major. And so I wanted to visit voodoo priestesses and ask questions and explore that because it's things that I heard about in my childhood, but never really looked into. And so I am here for all of it. But today we're going to talk about, I'm going to kind of share my pearls of wisdom with everyone and some of the things I've learned. And so, what would I say to my 20-year-old self? And first, I want to say at 40, I am feeling grown, because at 20 was grown and ready to take on the world. You know, 30s were grown and sexy. Everything was just like feeling myself. Uh, but 40 is like grown. It's about the journey and the purpose and not about the race. When I was 20, I was trying to keep up with everybody and I was racing to this mark at 30 that would tell me if I was going to be ready for life. But at 20, you're still like in the middle of that teenage identity crisis where you're trying to figure out who you are based on the world standards. And so I was trying to figure out what that meant, what it meant to be an adult, but and get everything I was supposed to get in place. The career, the boyfriend, everything was supposed to be in place. So by 30, I'm ready for marriage and kids. And then 30 hit. And I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. As a matter of fact, I think I had broken up with my boyfriend at the time. And I was just feeling lost. And I hadn't gotten my degrees yet because I lived in New York City, so I wasn't able to afford to go to school and be an adult. And so I had to choose food and job and work. And so nothing felt right. I was working. I taught dance for years. I was a makeup artist. I was employed, hustler for always. But it was just that race. And throughout my 30s, it felt like you have to have everything together by 40. You have to have everything. And then it was still that checklist. And then you're comparing yourself to everyone else around you that has everything, or it seems like they have everything. And it just felt like, oh my God. And I was so proud of all of my friends that were accomplishing all these things, but it just constantly made me feel like, what am I doing? And so, whether it was professionally, spiritually, emotionally, I was just looking for the pieces to fall together and constantly trying to be better and evolve. So it was just like constantly felt like I was racing to get to the next point. But by 40, 40 is about what did I do? What did I experience? I look back at these last 40 years and I think about the moments. I think about the lessons learned and the lessons that took me a long time to learn and the lessons that I have yet to learn. And it's about the journey and the purpose of my life and the things I can give to others and the things others give to me. And so I would like to take a second to share my wisdom to my 20-year-old self. Hopefully, everybody can take something from this. All right. So this is my message of wisdom to my 20-year-old self. But before I get into it, if you like this video, click like, share, and subscribe. That way you can get all the rest of my videos. I'm going to be talking about everything. And if you have questions or things you want to talk about, comment below. Find me online on Facebook at the Nappy Frappe, Twitter at the Nappy Frappe, or Instagram at the Nappy Frappe. And let me know what you want to talk about. I'm here for it. So, message to my 20, how, 30, 38, 37, 15-year-old self. Process your pain. Face your trauma and give yourself time to heal. I feel like it took me so long to be able to process the different ways I was hurt, whether it's from my childhood to relationships to just blaming myself for bad choices or relationships, familial, siblings or things that I wished had been better or done something different, and allow myself to feel my pain and to like heal. I've gone to therapy a few times. I wish I had gone more. I wish I had the resources to go more. I typically went to therapy when I was in school and it was free. But therapy is important. And if you have the resources, the money to see a professional, the brain is an organ that needs care and treatment. So, um, I would say something else I've learned other than my mental health is my physical health. And no one appreciates health like the sick. And it took me a while to realize that I had to prioritize health. Like I taught dance for years, but I never thought about what it meant to be heart healthy. I didn't have regular access to, you know, general care practitioners. So, in fact, I went a long time without having any health insurance. Once I aged out of Medicare as a child, Medicaid, and then until the Affordable Care Act, I didn't have money. My jobs didn't offer it, and I didn't have $500 a month for Cobra, so that wasn't even an option. But I learned that during the times when I'm sick, whether it's strep throat or a horrible yeast infection or something, you're in so much pain that you remember what it felt like. You try to remember what it felt like before. It was just this consistent pain and sickness. And so I try when I'm not sick to remember how good that feels in the moment of nothing being wrong and to try to keep it that way. And eating well is a huge part of that. And nutrition isn't about dieting, like getting to a certain special weight. Now, granted, I realize I'm thin. But I learned during the time when I moved to the South and I put on a little weight that eating healthy is hard. No, and I had no idea what I was eating, what my calories were, anything. And so I learned to pay attention to what I put in my body because food should actually be fuel. And when you go to a doctor, they tell you to eat healthy. That's not just something they throw at you like, oh, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's about not stuffing your body with bad things that it can't process. And so I try to think about that. Um, okay, so I love quotes, right? And there are two quotes that I steadily, like, really live by. There is Helen Keller said, I'm only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something, and I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. And for me, from the moment I read that, it hit me because I've always been somebody that wanted to share anything I have to share. Usually it's not money, but if I have wisdom, if I have hope, if I have words of encouragement, lessons, I try to give that. And so I realized that as one person, I can't heal the whole world, but I can touch a life positively every time I come into contact with it. Every time I come into contact with someone new, I can be a positive encouragement. I can be the person that put a smile on their face to give them a word of direction. And so I take advantage of the opportunity to touch a life every time I can. The other one is a little bit in contrast to the helping everybody. It's an old Polish proverb, not my monkey, not my circus. And I had to learn this because I am like big sister Cheryl, and I'm the second of 16 children. And so I am used to actually being a big sister. But in that, I'm in everybody's business. And it's like, I do not mind giving my 2 cents and asking for change and catch that double entendre. But I realized that everyone's not going to change because I want them to, or because I think I gave them some sage advice. And so with a lot of things, I impart the words of wisdom that I have, and then I back up because not my monkey, not my circus. It's not my business to get all up in yours. And so I've learned to just kind of mind mine, you know? Okay, so I've also learned to define myself by my own rules and understand that those things change. I allow myself to be wrong, to have been wrong. And there have been many opportunities in my life where I've realized I needed growth. One of the ways is when I moved to the South. I moved to Tennessee from New York City to study theology originally. Ended up going to film school, which I love, which is why I'm here. Um, but I had to take a look at myself. And I always considered myself very open minded. I was in makeup, I was in dance. So, of course, I was around lots of gay men. And my best friend in high school was bisexual. And so I didn't have any issue with that. And I thought that made me open minded. And I couldn't see any levels of bigotry in myself. And so, of course, people want to put the hard line on homophobic, but bigotry is bigotry. And what happened was I didn't see it as normal. And I got to live within the privilege of being in the majority, the norm. And so I would say things like, oh, it doesn't, I don't mind, I just think it's too much, or different things. I didn't think it was a choice after working with children. There was no longer a wonder whether or not it's a choice. Because once you work with kids, you see it. You know that it's just there always. And anyone that tries to like punish them for it is a jerk. I want to monetize this, so I'm gonna try to watch my language. So, um, but I got to the South and people were so openly homophobic that it was upsetting. And so I found myself speaking out. And the idea that people were trying to use the Bible to justify it really upset me. And so, and I'll get into like my thoughts on being pro LGBTQ and being an ally in another video where I can really get deep into it. But the point of this statement is I learned that I was in a class, I actually stated that I realized I was allowing my tradition to trump my humanity. And because my culture and American culture, Black culture, all my cultures made it okay for me to be nice to gay people, but not have to understand that sexuality isn't binary, that it's not just the way that I see things, the way that my attraction works, just because it's based on the norm, the standard, doesn't make it right, better, or normal. Because saying mine is normal is makes being homosexual or bisexual or whatever makes that abnormal. And that's just not the truth. And my humanity came in to just realize I was putting myself, my life, in a different level from somebody else. And when I realized I was doing that, it opened up my mind in so many ways. So I went to the South and I moved back, and I was pro LGBTQ. I was a self-proclaimed feminist, which wasn't something that I felt the need to say before. I was pro-Black because the racism and the microaggressions were insane. And it was really the racism, realizing that it was the same as the homophobia, really weighed on me and made me just realize, like, a lot of my gay friends in Tennessee were white. And so I needed them to be my ally, just like I needed to be theirs. And it put me in the position of need, and realizing that that give and take is necessary. And so I realized I would no longer allow traditions to trump humanity, and that I would question traditions, because time should always be about progress, you know? So, that was important to me. So I also learned, really big, to not tolerate toxic relationships, any toxic relationships. I mean, family, dating, friendships. I am not here for you to subject me to your abuse. I'm here to create vulnerability, be vulnerable with you, allow you to be vulnerable with me. But I do not expect to be slapped in the face with the vulnerability that I give you. I tell you something intimate about myself, and then you use it against me. Or, you have residual pain from something else, and then I'm getting the energy from it. So I realized that I have the right to demand healthy relationships. Not requested, not wanted, but demand that anyone that is in my life, in my space, takes care of themselves in a way that their brokenness does not spill out on me. I feel like trying to fix broken people, or by just kind of just being their constant punching bag, is like trying to put together a broken mirror. You will just get scarred in the process. You'll never put it back together, and you'll just end up with the cuts and the scars. So my thing is, I will love you, but you have to fix yourself, because I will not be subject to anybody's rage or anger, anything like that. And in that, I learned in dating to avoid insecure men. I mean, insecure people are a problem altogether, but insecure men tend to become abusive. And I like an arrogant man. Give me a man, that thinks he is the business. I am confident enough to know that that is an asset to me. And so I've been with abusive men, I've been with insecure men, and I realized that that comes from their own insecurities and their need to break me. I realized that part of the reason I'm a self-proclaimed feminist is because I do believe in equality. And I think the equality helps men too. In a later video, I'll go into toxic femininity that balances out the toxic masculinity that adds to the patriarchy and misogyny in another video. But right now, just recognizing that if I shouldn't have to bend for you to feel tall. And if your manhood is founded on my submission, then there's an issue with your manhood, not who I am. And so I learned just avoid them altogether. Every time in dating as well, and in friendships and relationships, family, every time you excuse bad behavior or ignore a red flag, you justify that behavior later. You justify this. You set the standard. And people will find a reason. If you found a reason to stay, to tolerate it, that means there is a reason to tolerate it. And with everything, I'm married, but with everything, even in better or worse, my worst stops at abuse. Emotional, physical, mental, psychological, all of it. In like disrespect, I am not here for that. I did not sign on for that. I'm here for a partnership. And at any point when the partnership is not progressing, is not healing, I'm not going to be abused ever. So, and that's my lesson to my younger self. Don't tolerate it, because I tolerated so many negative situations of abuse and thought that it meant that I was a good person for sticking through it, a good friend, a good family member for being there through it. And it really just started to break me, you know? Oh, a really important one is confidence. Confidence. Confidence is everything. I cannot express more importantly how confidence is essential for success in anything, professionally, dating, friendships. There's nothing I possess that is sexier, that is a stronger asset to me than my confidence. Believing in myself, believing in my ability to accomplish anything, not only gets me a seat at the table, it makes sure that I leave the table full, And so I feel justified to be in any space. And I do my best to attract confidence. And it's not to say that there won't be insecure people around me, but I am here to build up. And if you are here to pour into me as I pour into you, then that's what I'm talking about. So it's not to say that if someone has insecurities, you avoid them. It's to say if their insecurities are leading them to be toxic, they need to fix that. But if they just need a little bit of love. Oh, I am here to love on everybody. It's why I work with kids for so long, because kids love on you and they just want to be loved on. And doing makeup, the best part of that was making people feel good, making people feel pretty and confident, and talking to them about how awesome they are while I'm creating this new look and this glam. And it's kind of why I've leaned into photography, because it's an intimate moment where I get to do their makeup, take their picture, and capture a moment in time where I've hopefully built up a little confidence and give them a trinket to remember it. So it's why I've kind of gone into that world. So if you're looking for a photographer, call me. But confidence, yes, it is everything. And that's not to say that you lie or BS yourself, because that may work in the short term, but that's not going to ride you through. It's about building on the best parts of yourself. It's about pouring into yourself and not letting your insecurities become the bold print. You know what I mean? I'm not perfect. I have a lot of things I need to work on, but that's in the fine print. You'll get to know those things. Like, one thing I used to hate about dating, because I find that guys would do this often. You'd be on a date and they'd say, "So, what's wrong with you? You seem perfect. What's wrong with you?" I'm not going to tell you what I think is wrong with me. If you get to know me long enough, you'll figure out what you don't like about me. I'm not going to tell you what I don't like about me. And for me, it was like, why would I give you a list of my insecurities when I am trying to present my better self? And hopefully, I get to work on the things I don't like about me to where they don't even exist. Also, it always triggered me as like, what kind of person wants a list of your bad traits when they first get to know you? Like, just love me. But it's about building on yourself to where you can hold your own in any space and you feel a sense of belonging, because belonging is one of the most important traits of life. And it's important that you know you belong by building that confidence. So, again, confidence is everything. It's the courage to present your best traits while knowing that you are not perfect, that, you know, your lesser traits, your weaker flaws may be exhibited. That's okay. You'll make up for those, you know? Like, I'm really bad at names. I'm really, like, really bad at names. But I will still create a moment. Whether or not I remember your name, which I don't think it's nothing that I don't remember people's names. I'm really bad at it. But I try to create a real moment with people no matter what. And that is a strength that I have. So while it may take me a while to keep hearing your name to remember exactly what your name is, I will create a genuine connection with you every single time. And that's, for me, I've made you feel a way. It's like what Maya Angelou said. People won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And I try to make sure that I make everyone feel great while they're in my presence. Um, I would say one thing to do if you're like nervous and you're scared, they say picture everyone naked. Do a little twist on that. I picture everyone human. I picture everyone vulnerable and multifaceted. And I know that everyone has a story. When I went back to college, I found myself bonding with my professors, and I bonded with the students well as as well. I was old enough to be the teachers' ages, but also I didn't feel out of place. They were doing the thing I wanted to do, and I felt at some point I'd be sitting at the table working with them anyway. So these are the people that I need to get most comfortable with. And being in a presence of a lot of professionals can be intimidating when you don't have the credentials or the history that they have. But instead of focusing on how they were different from me, I focused on the facts that they were human, that there was love and family and brokenness and trials and tribulations that we all have. And the more time we get to spend with each other professionally, the more we can build a confidence to get to know each other personally. And so for me, that made me super comfortable. So there's never a room I walk into where I'm just not like, I want to know who this person is, what this person's about. And so, you know, that's something that means a lot to me. Also, I've learned that one of my friends taught me a lesson unlearned is a lesson repeated. So let me throw that at you one more time. A lesson unlearned is a lesson repeated. If you date somebody and they are, doing something negative, if you're ignoring red flags, the lies, the cheating, whatever, and you break up with them, or they broke up with you or whatever, but you have not learned to see a red flag and react, if you're still ignoring red flags, if you're still doing the same thing, if professionally you have not learned to open your mouth to say that you want to raise, or you deserve better treatment, or you're being disrespected, if family members keep, you feel like, using you, abusing you, but you haven't set any boundaries, a lesson unlearned is a lesson repeated. It will keep happening until, and with different people, because you are the common denominator. It is you, and you have to change that. So a lesson unlearned, lesson repeated. Catch that. Okay, so also, with confidence, I learned that self-deprecation is not humility. And it took me a long time to recognize that broken trait in me that felt the need to put myself down every time someone complimented me. They'd say, "You're pretty." And I'd go, "Oh, but I'm so skinny." "Oh, oh, you got a cute little body." "Oh, but I'm flat chested." I mean, I'm nursing now, so check these girls. But I just had my baby. I have a gonna be, he's 20 months today. It's my birthday. It's 20 months. So woo. You'll meet him in a later episode. He's amazing. So my little Canon Barack. But I would feel the need to put myself down because I thought that was being humble. And that's not being humble. That's ruining a moment. If someone compliments you, they have placed positive energy into the space. And instead of appreciating that and receiving it, you have then poured negativity into the space. And instead, I had to learn to just to say, thank you. Thank you. And not feel like I was bragging. I didn't brag. The person complimented me. And that being comfortable in the space to take compliments also made me really comfortable in giving compliments. I see women out in the streets. If I see anything I like, hair, makeup, bags, shoes, an energy, I am going to say, girl, I love that. Men, I don't always because sometimes it's hard to compliment a man because they don't know that always know the difference between flirting and just being complimentary. But I try not to keep that from stopping me because we're not going to get to a place of equality if I treat men differently, right? So, but I had to learn how just to say thank you. Insulting yourself ruins the mood. So if someone tells you something positive, just say thank you. I also started feeling like I needed to look at them really quick to scan to find a compliment back. And also, sometimes that can feel fake. If you find something positive to say, if there's something you want to say anyway, say it by all means. But don't feel the need to create a compliment to balance out like you've earned yours. Apparently, whatever you did to receive the compliment was enough to get it. Enjoy it, you know? My next tip is advice is never as valuable as when you're sharing it with someone else. So someone gives you a piece, like the lesson unlearned is a lesson repeated. When I first heard that, it was like, okay, that's cool. That makes sense. But by the time I lived it and recognized that I was still making the same mistake over and over again. And it became like, oh my God, something I repeated to myself. When I'm talking to a friend and I realize they're in a pattern and a negative cycle, and I say to them, a lesson unlearned is a lesson repeated. It now, it the fact that I'm sharing it means that it is an experience for me now. I am not just giving out words. I am not just repeating a random quote. I am sharing an experience that I have. I'm sharing wisdom where it's like, listen, learn from this. Don't do the same thing I've done. And so I try to absorb all the advice I can and not take it personally and not get offended because someone wants to help guide me. I try to take in all the advice I can, even when I don't feel like it applies to me at the time, because who knows? First of all, if they're sharing the advice with me, there's something in me that they see that they think needs it. But I know that I've given advice to people that they have shared later, and in their story of sharing it, I see how valuable it is for them. And so it's just like, whew. Okay. The next thing is a little bit more fun. Cheryl, embrace your sexuality. And this is not about promiscuity, but it's damn sure not about being withdrawn and trying to be virginal. Embrace the fact that you are a sexual being, and that is okay. You are not a list of the people you've been with or the things that have happened to you. You are entitled to every experience that you have and to fully embrace that experience and to enjoy it for what it is. It is not on you at all to have to explain away anything. When my husband and I first started dating, he asked, how many people have I been with? Not answering that. You don't want to know. You don't want to know because that's just a way for you to box me into a virgin or a whore. I'm not a virgin. You haven't planted a flag on anything new. I was already in my 30s. I had had sex before. And so with that, I'm not a whore. You can trust me. I am not going to be out everywhere and cheating or anything like that. But that's going to take you getting to know me and getting to engage with me. But I didn't allow myself to be boxed in his mind by putting that out there. And so I would say to you, you don't owe anybody that. Now, at the same time, we did before we had sex, go to the clinic and get tested and all that, because that you do owe people. If somebody wants to get tested with you, know what you do and don't have and all that, you should share things like that. But outside of that, it's not my job to give you a rundown of everything I've done. You are here to experience me and learn me anecdotally, not just in a list. You know, it's quantity, not quality. I mean, quality, not quantity. Okay, so let me see. What else could I tell my 20-year-old self? Well, really quick. Again, if you are enjoying my video, I want you to click like, share, comment below, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. So we're getting ready to come to an end. These are, I guess, my closing remarks. I would say 40 feels great. I am very excited to start this next chapter in my life. Major things are happening in my life. And the more you tune in, the more I will share, because I've always been an open book. I do believe in being transparent because I believe I learn from every lesson. I believe that every mistake adds to an experience which helps me gain wisdom. And so I believe that, you learn it to share it, you know? And so I'm about being big sis. For most of my friends, even if they're a little older, I can come off as big sis. And just because I try to be understanding and not judgmental. Now, that does not mean that I will not tell you what I think is right and wrong. It means that I don't think you're a bad person because you've done something that I think is wrong. It means that I don't think you can't be redeemed. You can't redeem yourself though you've made bad choices. So understand that if you hit me up and you tell me like you're sleeping with somebody's husband, you're going to get a whole lot of close your legs to married men from over here, because that's where I stand. But with that, you have the chance to redeem yourself by closing your legs to married men and learning that lesson, and I'm here for it. I want to give real guidance and wisdom and learn from you. And there will, of course, be guests on the show and have just different conversations about different topics. And so I'm so excited to share this with you. I don't know what's up for the next 40 years. I know I'm a mommy now, so that's amazing. My baby is so cute. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see his picture. He is adorable. And I'm excited about life. I'm excited about this next chapter. I'm starting my business and starting my LLC and all that soon. The Nappy Frappe will be a full brand. You'll be able to get merchandise and everything, because I'm thinking big. This is starting off just the YouTube channel, but I am feeling like this is going somewhere, and I would like you to go with me. So if you are down to go with me, take a second to like, share, subscribe, and tell people about the Nappy Frappe, where we talk about everything. So I'd like to thank you for celebrating my birthday with me. I'm 40, I'm 40, I'm 40. Yes, This is what 40 looks like, y'all. Mm, 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 mm. Ah, 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 ah. Jackets and shoes. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited to have everybody here. So, bye.